Well, good morning. It's Monday. I think there's a song out there, Monday, Monday, so good to me. Uh, Other people say when they wake up, good God, it's Monday. So, um, one of the most influential teaching things that happened to me was when somebody told this little story. Now, I love stories. All stories are true. Some of them actually happened. So, the story about the great grandfather, and he's babysitting for 3 days. Okay, 3 days in the tomb, 3 days in the belly of the big fish, etc., etc. He's babysitting his great grandson, a 6-year-old, for 3 days, and the child is wearing him out, just wearing him out, day in and day out, and so it comes to the end of the third day, the nighttime, and he knows the child is going home in the morning time to his parents. So he puts the child to bed. And I love this part. He kneels down beside the bed and says, and now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. There are four corners to my bed. There are four angels overhead, one to watch, one to pray, two to lead my soul away. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Bless the bed that I lay on. And he leaned over and kissed his great grandson on the forehead. And he said, good night, child. Good night. He goes out into the living room and he kind of collapses into his lazy boy chair, and he says to himself, so help me God, so help me God. I do love him. I do love him. But he's wearing me out. Thank God he's going home tomorrow. And within seconds, the little boy calls out from the bedroom, Grandpa, Grandpa. And if you listen carefully, you can hear the impatience. What? He said, what? What? And the boy said, I'm lonely in here. And the grandfather answers, said, you don't have to be lonely in there. God is in there with you. It's funny how when you get religion, you can use it to get rid of people. God is in there with you. So the little boy says, I know that God is in here with me, but I want somebody in here with skin on. And that's it. Jesus on the cross is God with skin on. And it just touched my soul that our whole faith could be expressed in this little, I want somebody in here with skin on. God so loved the world that he gave his only son. And the son had skin on him, and Mary laid him in a manger, a feeding box. Okay. So my other story that impressed me a lot about love, really, Barrington Bunny. And again, can't remember the original teller of the story at this moment. So without reading his text, I'm just going to do it from memory. Once upon a time, in a large forest, there lived a very furry bunny. He was brown and speckled, and he had incredibly shiny eyes. Now, Barrington didn't know if all bunnies were warm and furry and speckled and had shiny eyes, because he'd never ever met another bunny. And it was Christmas Eve. And Barrington had been hopping for a while in a clearing in the middle of the forest, hopping in the snow. He'd go hip, hop, hippity hop, and then he'd turn round and look at the tracks that he had made. Now again, Barrington didn't know if all bunnies were warm and furry, but he knew that the gift he had of being warm and furry. So it's Christmas Eve, and this was the time all the animals in the forest had their Christmas parties. And Barrington had been hopping for a while in the snow in the middle of the forest, and he said to himself, it's getting very cold. I better go home or I'll freeze to death. And so off he went, hip, 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 hop, hippity hop. And after a while, he came to a huge oak tree, high up in the sky. And high in the branches was the squirrel family. And they were having a Christmas party. And Barrington said to himself, I wonder if the squirrels will let me come to their party. And so he shouted up, he said, hello up there, hello up there. And after a while, one of the squirrels looked down and he says, hello down there. He said, my name is Barrington Bunny, and I'm a bunny. And can I come to your Christmas party? And the squirrel thought for a minute and said, I suppose so. Can you climb trees? Oh no, said Barrington, but I'm a bunny, and I'm warm and furry, and I can hop. Well, that's all very fine, said the squirrels. But in order to come to our party, you have to be able to climb trees. I think of trees, you know, I think of the wood of the cross. We all have to climb the wood of the cross in some way or other. So Barrington anyway said, oh, I suppose so. And he hopped away, very, very sad. And after a while, he got as far as the river, and he discovered a wonderfully constructed house of logs and mud. And it was the Beaver family. And Barrington said, I wonder if the beavers will let me come to their party. And so Barrington went up and he knocked at the door. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. He knocked at the door, and after a while, a shiny beaver head broke the surface of the waters. And Barrington said, my name is Barrington. May I come to your party, your Christmas party? And the beaver thought for a moment and said, I suppose so. Can you swim? Oh no, said Barrington. Bunnies are warm and furry, but they can hop. Well, that's all very fine, said the beaver. In order to come to our party, you have to be able to swim. Oh, I suppose so, said Barrington. Merry Christmas. Good night. And Barrington hopped away towards his burrow. And just before he went into his burrow for the night, he heard them under the ground, the field mice. And they were having a Christmas party. And Barrington said to himself, I wonder if the field mice will let me come to their Christmas party. And he said, hello down there, hello down there. This is Barrington Bunny. I'm warm and furry and I can hop. May I come to your party? But the wind howled so badly that the sound of his voice was taken away. And the field mice never heard him. And Barrington sat down in the snow and put his finger in his mouth. And he cried and he cried and he cried. And he said, bunnies are no good to anybody. No good. After a while, sitting in the snow, Barrington realized he was not alone, and he looked up through his tears and he saw it, a great, big silver wolf. The wolf was the most beautiful animal that Barrington had ever seen. And so the wolf spoke. Barrington, why are you sitting here in the snow all alone on Christmas Eve? Because, said Barrington, because I have no family and no party to go to on Christmas Eve. And the wolf said, all the animals in the forest are your family. And Barrington blinked his eyes and the wolf disappeared. And he sat there in the snow for some time. He said, all the animals in the forest are my family, all the animals. And the wolf had told him as well that he was good because he was warm and furry. And that was a gift that bunnies had been given. So Barrington turned it over again in his mind. All the animals in the forest are my family, and bunnies are warm and furry, and that's a gift that bunnies have been given. So Barrington, he dug and dug and dug, and it was a good thing, and he found a fine stick, and off he went to the squirrel's house, and he left the stick at the bottom of the tree and said, "Here's some dried moss and a stick and some leaves for your house. It's a gift, a free gift." And he signed it, "A member of your family." And then off he went again and dug a bigger stick for the beaver's house. And when he got to Beaver's house, he left the stick at the door with a note attached. "Here's a fine stick for your home. It's a gift, a free gift, no strings attached." And he signed it, "A member of your family." "I better be getting home," said Barrington. "I'll freeze to death in this terrible cold." So off he went towards his house. And just before he went underground into his burrow for the night, he heard it. A tiny field mouse, lost in the snow. Squeak, squeak, squeak. "I'm lost," said the tiny mouse. "I'll freeze to death." "Oh, no, you won't," said Barrington. "I'm a bunny, and bunnies are warm and furry." And wait a minute, and hip hop, hippity hop, and Barrington lay on top of the tiny mouse. And the tiny mouse, surrounded by warm fur, fell asleep. And all that night, Barrington said, "I'm a bunny, and bunnies are warm and furry, and that's a gift that bunnies have been given. And all the animals in the forest are my family." The next morning, the field mice were so overjoyed to find their baby alive and well that they never bothered to question where the dead bunny came from. And as for the squirrels and the beavers, they never knew which member of their family left them the gifts on Christmas Eve. But on Christmas afternoon, the silver wolf, the wolf whose eyes flashed fire, he came back and stood beside the frozen body of Barrington for 3 hours, 3 long hours. And at the end of the 3 long hours, Barrington opened his eyes, and his brown and speckled coat had turned silver gray like the wolf. And together they got up and ran off into the forest and disappeared. Such was the story as I heard it years ago. And again, I had a photographic memory at the time, and obviously some of it is still photographic. I'm able to tell it with God's grace. And so I told it anyway years ago in maybe a 2nd or 3rd grade classroom, whatever age they were, 6 or 7. And at the end of the story, this got to me. In the end of the story, the little girl said, "I get it, I get it, I get it." And she says, "What do you get?" Now, I didn't get it, but what do you get? Oh, she says, the silver wolf is God the Father, and Barrington Bunny is Jesus, and the mouse is me. So I'm grateful for out of the mouth of babes that I was able to see the whole gospel of Jesus Christ. So that's my Barrington Bunny story again. Christmas is not so far away at this stage. So let us all be Barrington Bunnies. And let us all recognize that all the animals in the forest are our families. And all the men and women on the face of the earth are our brothers and sisters. And our Christmas, our ultimate Christmas, our Christ's Mass, our ultimate Christmas will be when Christ comes back again and in glory and brings the families of the world into his heart and into his mind and into his soul. Amen.